That rattle you hear every cold morning? 2 seconds, maybe 3. Then it goes away. GM says it's normal. Your dealer says it's normal. It is not normal. That sound is a stretched timing chain slapping against its guides, inside your engine block. Every time you hear it, the chain stretches a little further. One morning, it's going to jump a tooth on the sprocket. Valves hit pistons. Bent valves. Scored cylinders. $3,000 to $5,000 in damage. The sound test that catches this? 8 seconds. The part that buys you time? $8. GM has known about this defect for over 15 years. They have never issued a recall. This is the full story of the timing chain problem killing more GM V8 engines than any other single failure. Welcome to We Are Auto Nerds. Subscribe and hit the bell now. This is where we open the hood on everything the industry hopes you never learn. Your timing chain synchronizes two critical engine parts, the crankshaft and the camshaft. Those two shafts have to rotate in perfect lockstep. Fall out of sync by even a few degrees and your valves collide with your pistons. Engine over. So here is why it is failing. The chain connects the crankshaft gear to the camshaft gear. It rides on plastic guides inside the timing cover. It is held tight by a hydraulic tensioner pressurized by your engine oil. When everything is new, it runs in perfect harmony. But the chain doesn't snap. It doesn't break overnight. It stretches. Slowly. Invisibly. Over tens of thousands of miles, the pins and rollers inside the chain wear microscopically with every rotation. That wear creates slack. The slack lets the chain drift off its intended path. At the same time, the plastic guides are degrading. Heat cycles, oil contamination, age, they harden and become brittle. Pieces crack off, the guide surface wears thin. Now the chain has even more room to wander. And then there's the tensioner. It relies entirely on clean engine oil at the correct pressure to keep that chain tight. When oil gets dirty, when it breaks down, when sludge builds up in the oil passages, the tensioner can't maintain pressure. The chain goes loose. This is the three-part sequence that destroys engines. Chain stretch plus guide wear plus tensioner failure equals catastrophic timing loss. You know what's wild about this? None of it happens fast. It takes years, tens of thousands of miles. Your engine gives you every chance to catch it. The problem is, nobody ever told you what to look for. Until now. Now here is what should concern every General Motors truck owner listening right now. General Motors 5.3-liter and 6.2-liter V8 engines, the LC9, LMG, L83, L84, L80X, L87, the engines powering every Sierra, Yukon, Tahoe, and Suburban built since 2007 are particularly vulnerable to this exact sequence. And the reason traces back to a decision General Motors made that prioritized fuel economy over engine longevity. In 2005, General Motors introduced active fuel management on its V8 engines. Active fuel management, later rebranded as dynamic fuel management or DFM, deactivates 4 of your 8 cylinders under light load to save fuel. On paper, it gains you roughly 1 mile per gallon on the highway. In practice, it introduced a cascade of mechanical stress that the timing chain system was never designed to handle. When active fuel management activates, the engine transitions from 8-cylinder operation to 4-cylinder operation and back again, sometimes hundreds of times in a single drive. Every transition changes the load on the timing chain. Every transition alters the oil pressure dynamics inside the engine. Every transition creates a micro surge of stress on the chain guides and tensioner. So here is what this means for your truck. You are sitting at a stoplight, active fuel management kicks in. 4 cylinders shut down. The load on your chain just changed. You accelerate. Active fuel management kicks out. 8 cylinders fire. The load changes again. This happens 200 to 300 times on your commute home every single day. And your timing chain absorbs every one of those transitions. Here is the part that makes me angry. General Motors traded your engine's long-term reliability for 1 mile per gallon. That is the trade-off they made and never told you about. active fuel management, spelled AFM, and dynamic fuel management, spelled DFM, both use specialized lifters that collapse and expand to deactivate cylinders. These lifters are notorious for failure. When a lifter fails, it sends metal debris into the oil system. That debris circulates through your engine, reaches the timing chain tensioner, contaminates the oil passages that feed it, and accelerates wear on every component the chain touches. GM has sold over 20 million vehicles with AFM and DFM V8 engines. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration opened a formal investigation into nearly 878,000 vehicles from the 2019 through 2024 model years over V8 engine failure complaints. Owners reported engines seizing without warning, connecting rods punching through engine blocks, complete catastrophic failure with no prior symptoms, except one. That cold start rattle. The auto service industry generates billions of dollars annually from engine rebuilds, replacements, and the parts pipeline that feeds them. A timing chain inspection at 100,000 miles takes a shop 30 minutes and generates almost no revenue. An engine rebuild after a chain failure at 150,000 miles costs $3,000 to $5,000. One repair order. The economics do not favor early detection, they favor failure. If you are still watching, you already know more than most GM owners will ever learn about what is happening inside their engine. Subscribe now. Share this video with anyone you know who drives a GM truck with a V8. What comes next is the part the dealerships never tell you. Here is the test. It costs you nothing. It takes 8 seconds, and it can save you thousands. Tomorrow morning, before you start your truck, roll down the driver's window. Turn off the radio, turn off the heated seats, turn off everything that makes noise. Now start the engine. And listen. A healthy timing chain makes no abnormal sound on startup. The engine fires, the oil pump pressurizes the tensioner within 1 to 2 seconds, and the chain runs quietly against properly maintained guides. A stretched timing chain produces a distinct metallic rattle from the front of the engine. It sounds like a handful of small ball bearings shaking inside a tin can. It lasts anywhere from 2 to 5 seconds on a cold start, then fades as oil pressure builds and the tensioner takes up the slack. Here's the key detail. As the chain stretches further, that rattle lasts longer. 2 seconds becomes 4. 4 becomes 6. 6 becomes constant. By the time the rattle does not go away after startup, you are already in the danger zone. The chain has stretched far enough that it could skip a tooth at any moment. Pay attention to the duration and frequency. If you hear a rattle that lasts less than 2 seconds and only happens on very cold mornings, your chain has early stage stretch. You have time. If the rattle lasts 3 to 5 seconds and happens every morning regardless of temperature, your chain needs professional inspection immediately. If the rattle persists during idle or gets louder under acceleration, stop driving the truck and have it towed to a shop. There is also a diagnostic confirmation you can request from any mechanic. A scan tool can read the camshaft position sensor and the crankshaft position sensor data at the same time. If the correlation between those two sensors drifts beyond a certain threshold, the engine control module stores specific fault codes. P0008, P0009, P0016, P0017, P0018, P0019. These are timing correlation codes. Any one of them confirms that your timing chain has stretched far enough to affect valve timing. Do not let a shop dismiss these codes as simple sensor issues without first inspecting the chain. Insist on a physical inspection. Let me show you something. Everything I just told you, the sound test, the diagnostic codes, the exact failure progression, none of this is hidden information. It is all in General Motors' technical service bulletins. They documented every stage of this failure. They just never put it in your owner's manual. They never told your service advisor to mention it at your oil change. The information existed, it was just never meant for you. Now, here is the $8 part I mentioned at the beginning. Your timing chain tensioner relies on oil pressure. Oil pressure relies on clean oil delivered at the correct viscosity. The single cheapest thing you can do to extend the life of your timing chain is change your oil filter on schedule with a high-quality filter that has an anti-drainback valve. The anti-drainback valve is a rubber flap inside the oil filter. It prevents oil from draining out of the filter when the engine is off. Without it, your engine starts dry every morning. The oil pump has to refill the filter before it can pressurize the system. During those seconds, your timing chain tensioner has zero oil pressure. The chain hangs slack. It slaps against the guides. That's your cold start rattle. A quality oil filter with a strong anti-drainback valve, an AC Delco PF48 or equivalent, costs between $6 and $10. Swap it with every oil change. It ensures oil stays in the filter overnight, giving the tensioner immediate pressure on startup and dramatically reducing the slack-induced wear that stretches your chain. The second part of this equation is oil change interval. General Motors' oil life monitor on these V8 engines was originally calibrated to allow intervals up to 10,000 miles or more. General Motors themselves had to recalibrate the oil life monitor on multiple engine families after widespread timing chain failures traced directly back to degraded oil. Mechanics and engineers who work on these engines daily recommend the same number across the board. 5,000 miles? Not 7. Not 10. 5,000. Every mile past 5,000 on degraded oil accelerates sludge formation in the oil passages that feed your timing chain tensioner. Every mile past 5,000 reduces the oil's ability to protect the chain, guides, and sprockets from wear. An oil change with a quality Dexo-certified, full synthetic, and an AC Delco filter runs between $40 and $60 if you do it yourself. Compare that to the cost of ignoring it. $800 to $1,200 for a timing chain replacement caught early. $3,000 to $5,000 for an engine rebuild caught late. The math isn't complicated. The industry just prefers you never do it. Stay with me on this. I know I've been throwing a lot of information at you, but this is the section that turns everything I just said into a specific action plan with real dollar amounts. This is where it all comes together. If your GM truck has a 5.3-liter or 6.2-liter V8 with over 100,000 miles, and you have never had the timing chain inspected, schedule an inspection now. Not next month. Not at the next oil change. Now, a qualified mechanic can check for timing chain stretch without tearing the engine apart. A scan tool reads the cam to crank correlation. A trained ear with a stethoscope on the timing cover can hear guide wear. These checks take less than an hour. If the inspection reveals significant stretch, replace the chain, guides, tensioner, and sprockets as a complete kit. Parts run between $150 and $350 for a quality kit. Labor runs between $600 and $900 depending on your region and the specific engine. Total cost, $800 to $1,200. And here is a pro tip that will save you another $1,000 down the road. On many of these GM V8 engines, the water pump is driven by the timing chain and sits behind the timing cover. If you are already paying to have that cover removed for a chain replacement, have the water pump replaced at the same time. The pump itself costs $40 to $80. You're already paying for 90% of the labor. Skip it now, and when that water pump fails at 140,000 miles, you will pay the full labor cost all over again to access the exact same area of the engine. Here is the reality that nobody in the automotive service industry wants you to understand. Your GM V8 is not a disposable engine. The iron block. The forged crankshaft. The fundamental architecture of these power plants was designed to run for hundreds of thousands of miles. Owners with properly maintained 5.3-liter engines have documented over 400,000 miles on original bottom ends. The timing chain is not a weakness in the design. It is a maintenance item that GM chose to classify as a non-serviceable lifetime component to keep published maintenance costs low and brochure numbers attractive. That classification costs GM truck owners thousands of dollars every year in repairs that were entirely preventable. An 8-second sound test every morning. A $6 to $10 oil filter with an anti-drainback valve at every oil change. Oil changes every 5,000 miles with Dexo certified full synthetic oil. A professional timing chain inspection at 100,000 miles. That is the difference between a truck that runs 300,000 miles and one that sits in a salvage yard at 150,000 with a destroyed engine and a repair bill its owner could not afford. Your truck talks to you every morning. It has been telling you exactly what it needs. Now you know how to listen. If this video saved you from a repair bill you didn't see coming, subscribe to We Are Auto Nerds. We publish real mechanical knowledge every single week. No sponsored content, no dealer partnerships, just the information your truck needs you to have. Share this with every GM owner you know. The sound test takes 8 seconds, but the knowledge behind it took the industry 15 years to bury. I'll see you in the next one.